Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart and you're watching Growing Older Gay. This is Kitchen Table for May 2nd, 2025. Now, if you watch our channel regularly, you might have noticed there was no episode last week. And that's because I was busy last weekend doing a spiritual conference for the LGBTQ people where I did a workshop on open relationships and applying spiritual principles to those things, which we do a lot of that here in the LGBTQ plus community. At least men do. Men are a little bit higher on the statistical scale for open relationships, gay men, than are lesbians or other variations of our rainbow, and certainly much higher than people in the heterosexual world. And so it was a really nice weekend to do some fun stuff like that. My husband also did a workshop on spiritual principles. So we were like the power couple out there doing good stuff and having some fun. But I didn't have time to sit down and really put any time into doing an episode. And that's going to happen from time to time. I am going to IML at the end of this month in Chicago for a week. And so there probably will not be a kitchen table that week, but I intend to take my GoPro along with me and maybe we'll do a few little impromptu things while we're there in Chicago. No promises, but we'll see what happens. So what's happening this week? Well, I always like to start with a little bit about Shit Show 2025. It's in the news, a lot of stuff going on, not good stuff generally speaking. It's been a shitty week, honestly. Again, some more. And last week was all about the 100 days and it's just been a wreck, right? We are going to have so much rebuilding to do when all this is over. And I mean, just literally rebuilding, starting from scratch on a lot of the things we used to hold dear and a lot of the things that we used to take for granted in some ways, anything to do with what's good for the people. So a lot of work to do, but there was a little bit of good news, sort of. Ex-Congressman George Santos was sentenced to 87 months in prison. This was from a number of his crimes that he actually pleaded guilty to last year. And so he's got fines to pay, $373,000 in restitution, $205,000 in forfeiture. And so he's going to be going to prison. At least he's scheduled to go to prison a little bit later in the summer. And there's so much drama. He's got his own social media. He's got his own podcast. And if you've seen any of that, the drama continues. This is just a guy that hasn't really been good for anybody. He hasn't been good for the Republicans. He hasn't been good for Democrats. He hasn't been good for the LGBTQ plus community. The latest fun fact about this whole drama is the fact that now he's making noise about trying to get Trump to give him a pardon. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, even though Trump has shown himself not to be a friend of the LGBTQ community and even looking like he's trying to do anything nice for our community. But it wouldn't shock me that this guy is now perfectly qualified to be a cabinet secretary of some sort. I know it seems ridiculous in a real world, but here on Earth 1, but on Earth 2, I think that he's bound to replace one of the cabinet secretaries right now that who's next to get kicked out. Maybe he can replace Hegseth and he can run our military. Wouldn't that be fun? He's just as qualified. So there. Now, I'd like to talk about a few destinations and things like that. Club 541 in Palm Springs is a relatively new sex club that has opened up down there. It's right downtown in the gay bar district. It's literally within walking distance of the tool shed down there and a number of the leather stores. This is a place that is not a bathhouse. They don't have showers. They don't have all of that. You don't necessarily take your clothes off. This is a place where you go and you can cruise. You can be naked if you want, but this is generally a place to go meet up, have sex. And they do have bathrooms so you can wash up and some nice themed areas. Now, obviously, there's a few pictures here that they've posted on their social media. And it's still relatively new and clean. It's a place that is owned and started by the same people that own the Slammer down in Los Angeles, a place that I've been to. And it's a fun place. It's got kind of a grungy kind of being in the back alley feel for cruising and hooking up. And this is a place that I'm headed to this summer. I have not been there, so I'm not really giving it a review at this point. I'm just pointing it out because I had a chance to listen to a podcast recently where the owner was really talking about it. And he's excited about it. I'm excited about it. If you look at their website, which is linked down below, you will see that they've got a lot of club activity going on there. A lot of people in Palm Springs are utilizing that venue for meetups and gatherings, as well as the normal days where anybody can just walk in the door and go have some fun. And very rare these things open up anymore in our society. Actually, more of these places close down every year than open up. So I thought it was worth a shout out to talk about Club 541 in Palm Springs. Full information linked down below in the information section. Now, an event that's coming up a little bit later this summer, and it's something near and dear to my heart. I hope to go. It is called the Pepper Diet Academy. It is a 3-day long, well, actually 4 days, sort of 3.5 days. This is a weekend retreat for people in sobriety who are practicing recovery, who are interested in sort of relearning and reconnecting with their sex lives, their intimacy, and their kink, their interests. A lot of times when people get sober, they are under the impression, or people in the recovery programs out there sort of judge and convince them that, not only they have to shut down their drinking, they're using drugs, they have to shut down their going out and having fun, they have to shut down their sex, they have to shut down the nightlife, and that just simply isn't true. What has to happen is when you get sober and you're in recovery, what you have to learn how to do is separate alcohol and drugs from our God-given powers of sex. God gave us sexual intimacy to enjoy and to really lean into and share with other people. It is not dirty. It is not nasty. It is something to be really developed. And when you're sober and you start practicing spiritual principles, you have the opportunity to really put the pedal to the metal and experience sexual connection with other people in a way that you never thought possible. And I've gotten to experience that in some 8 years of sobriety myself. And so this event, Tuolumne, California, August 7th through 10th, is a weekend of workshops and meetings, and it's not necessarily a hookup sex party. If you look at their website, they're very clear about that. They do provide opportunities, and the stage is set for people to have consensual meetups or do their thing during the weekend while we're there staying at the event. But this is really about learning. It's about communing and getting together. Pepper Diet Academy. And if you're in any level of recovery out there, that Pepper Diet term, you probably know what that's all about. And I'll just leave it there. And so just really wanted to point this out. These guys, I know some of the guys that are running this, and they reached out to me this last week and told me about the event. And while I'm not sure I get to go this year or not, I really wanted to give them a plug because this looks like an event that's really going to be something special. So check that out. And since we're talking about traveling and we're talking about going and doing things, I just really wanted to put a shout out. Given what's going on with Shit Show 2025 and the body politic that we are living in right now, if you're out there traveling abroad, I'm issuing I hate to say a warning, but I'm putting a level of caution out there for you. If you're going to other countries on a vacation, maybe you're going there for an event, be very careful, because sentiment around the world right now towards Americans isn't what it was a year ago. And that's because of all of the things going on with tariffs, and we're pulling out of basically supporting all sorts of things we used to support as a country and stand behind. And America's looked at pretty dimly right now around the world. And therefore, Americans, we're sort of becoming the ugly Americans again. If you don't know what that term means, Google it if you're too young to really know what that means. But that really talked about arrogant, pushy Americans that would go to other countries and just, they were scorned. They were there as tourists, they'd spend money, and people would smile at them and go, yeah, thanks for your money. But generally, they were hated. And my point here is that be careful. There are certain countries out there where not only you might not have a good time, you might not be treated very well by the locals, but you might also put yourself in danger depending on where you're going. The second part is, if you have anything less than 100% American citizenship, and I mean a green card, any kind of a visa, or maybe there's other questions as to the solidity of your status here in the United States, be very careful traveling abroad. And that is to say that in the last month or so, there have been a lot of stories out there of people that not only have been plucked off the street and disappeared, people even with a green card and permanent residency, and that's stripped away from them because the government just found something on their social media or had some kind of record of them doing something that they just simply didn't like. Not necessarily illegal, but just be very careful out there, because if they're capable of doing that, they're capable of keeping you from coming back into the country, because they pull your phone from you there at customs, they look through it and they see things on there. We don't know where it's going to go yet. And I would hate for somebody to travel abroad and not be able to come back home, who perfectly well deserves to do so. So that's really actually more of the warning than it is about just simply going to some country and being there. So what I would tell you is, if you're already planning on traveling abroad, maybe you're going to go to sort of a sex kink or a gay travel event someplace, maybe in Europe, maybe it's a cruise. Just make sure that you're in a time and a place, in a situation that is friendly to you. Not only you're going to enjoy it more, but it's something that you really ought to start looking out for your safety in certain places around the world. That's all. That's it. So that's all for today. And I love getting a chance to sit down and just share with you what's on my mind. There's a few video projects that are in the hopper coming up. One is about picking a therapist for if you're an LGBTQ person. And I recommend you pick a therapist which is in that camp, because they're going to relate to you better and understand you and get you. We're doing a whole video series on that, and we're going to be talking to other people. I'm actually going to have a guest, and we're also going to be doing a couple videos on health. One about choosing a doctor that you can trust and really, really tell everything to. That's very important if you're in our community. And also, U equals U is coming up. Now, everybody knows what that is, but not everybody knows what that is. So we're going to be doing some content here in the next week or so before I go to IML, and that's going to be rolling out. You can see all of that right there when that comes. At the very least, you'll see our latest video. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right there, which I highly recommend. I ask you to do. We're a brand new channel. We can use your help.